this is MemeAnalysis, and today we're going to be talking about the Skibidi Toilet, the greatest danger to youth since crack, or maybe lead paint. The Skibidi Toilet meme has gone from a simple funny video to a massive franchise where children have birthday parties of Skibidi Toilet. They have toys of Skibidi Toilet. There's a massive obsession with this media. Now, this might seem rather normal, but the danger that we're getting into here is actually something that I've talked about quite a bit in past videos, which is the return of the repressed, namely the repressed body. I've talked a lot about the way that the body disappears when we are so obsessed with the digital, with the virtual. Our bodies go away. And what remains from our bodies? It's in things like slime and goo and these toys that we like to play with. And I said in those videos that we like to play with it because it reminds us of shit. It reminds us of feces. Now, we have gone all the way out. We are no longer, we have moved past the point of civility, to be quite honest. We are no longer engaging in the civility of at least, oh, it's slime, it's goop. We're at least pretending that it's not shit. But now, the children are obsessed with toilets, with heads in toilets, with the Skibidi Toilet. This is an extraordinary danger, and it might seem like, oh, those darn kids, but it's not. It's not those darn kids. It is children obsessed with shit. The irony, of course, is that Skibidi Toilet began as a mere shit post. It's a little Gary's mod? Is that what it's called? Gmod? I don't know. Video, source code? Source filmmaker meme. It's a shit post. But the children love it. The children respond. It is a terrifyingly effective memetic virus, a memetic illness. And what is it attaching to? Now, when we look at a normal virus, we look at a normal illness, generally, in the body, there is a contact point where the virus infects. Oftentimes that's in our lungs. Our lungs are receptive to a virus, or maybe it's our throat, or sometimes if you're naughty, it's your genitals. But the Skibidi Toilet memetic virus attaches itself to what Freud describes as the anal character, the anal stage of development, where there is a problem that occurs. So in the stages of development, we go through oral, which is breastfeeding. The child is either breastfed enough and they get past it, they get to the anal stage, or too much or not enough, and so on. I'm not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the anal stage of development. Now, the anal stage of development occurs during potty training. The child is potty trained, or, God forbid, they are just not potty trained. But the child is either going to feel a sense of pride in their ability to control their bowel movements. This sounds really bizarre, but it's true. The child is either able to hold it in and get to a toilet and poop. They have control. They have mastered a terrible part of our nature. It's scary. If you ever shit yourself, it's terrifying. But alternatively, you can't. There are children who cannot control themselves. They be shitting. They be shitting. And they grow up knowing that they be shitting. This is where we get the idea of you can't keep your shit together. Get your shit together. They can't. They can't keep their shit together. And thus they become messy people. Their life is in disarray. This is an anal character. The anal retentive, the one who holds it in, they are very clean, very organized, very orderly. Now, the Skibidi Toilet, think about also the line, hey, get your head out of the gutter. Or in this case, get your head out of the toilet. This is a stage of development it's a very early stage also, keep in mind, that the children Remember, these are like 5-year-olds obsessed with the Skibidi toilet. What are they? They're only like God forbid, again, in some cases, a few months out from when they were using diapers. This is a really scary obsession with our most base, disgusting body parts. I love the body, and I've often talked about the need to accept shit. But accepting shit does not look like having toilet toys and doing a Skibidi toilet dance. It just doesn't. I think it's a really disturbing and miserable trend that it has reached such a popularity, that something that is meant to be repressed, something that we are just as beings meant to overcome. We're meant to civilize ourselves, to be able to function. And the fact that, and I predicted it with the popularity of slime, that we were going to get to a point where we were just obsessed with shit itself. Let's move a little bit past the initial form that I was talking about before. We were just talking about the idea of the head in the toilet. Let's get a little bit into the content, namely that of camera-headed men opposing the heads in toilets. And we can analyze this perhaps even better than the very simple anal character of the Skibidi toilet. When we look at this meme as a dialectic, as an opposition between the Skibidi toilet and the camera-headed man, we are given an even clearer vision of one of the most vital elements of Freud, namely the id, those lowest base drives. Those are the drives that want to play in mud, play in filth and be filthy, take pleasure in filth. And the superego, I've talked before about the importance of the camera as superego, of the men in black suits as superego. This could be seen very clearly in the meme, my own personal FBI agent. My FBI agent, guy in a suit, always watching me. So we're given a dialectic here between the lowest drives, which are the thing that the superego wants to control and wants to press down, like Michael and Satan. Skibidi toilet is satanic in that way. It is the lowest trying to come up. And the highest, the surveillance mechanisms trying to keep it down. Of course, in the Freudian metapsychology, in the Freudian drama of the psyche, we're missing a vital character in the Skibidi toilet narrative, the ego. Where is the ego? Now, of course, if you've seen many of my videos, you know that something I've talked about for a long time is the role of shitposts, of posts and digital content as a schizophrenizing agent, as a schizophrenizing force, which is to say that this mass, endless consumption of infinitely varied content is legitimately fracturing our psyches, and particularly fracturing our egos. The idea of the self has failed to develop when the majority of stimulus in our lives is nonsense. It's not real. It's not our life. The things that we're watching are not us. They're not of us. We're just consuming things that are other people. So how do children, Gen Alpha, make sense of their identity? Their identity is formed entirely by consumption. They can recognize the id at play. They can recognize that they have these very low impulses and that they have a little bit of shame coming from their parents and from schools and such. But without the ego to recognize, to mediate this conflict, the superego loses all its power. It has no thing to play upon. The id is infinite, endless, and archaic. It's the oldest thing. It's made, every animal ancestor is id. We know that the ego has been demolished by media, namely because the camera-headed men always lose. The id always wins. The shit always flows up and drowns the world. Do I see this on a societal level? Absolutely. Let's get into it. Generation Alpha is the first raised without an ego. It is the first generation to exist, to be born in the brave new world. In many ways, Gen Z is the final human generation. The last generation to be born with still a degree of material reality. Of course, the digital comes along and upsets it. It alters drastically the life that was being led. But Gen Alpha does not have this experience at all. It's born directly into it. It reminds me of Tom Thumb, of Harpocrates, of the child in Revelations, the one who is born with the great beast ready to swallow it as soon as it's born. Or as the talking heads say, born under punches. Gen Alpha is born into a huge mess, a huge trap, a digital trap. One in which their own upbringing, their own psychology has been entirely directed against them by digital forces. The Skibidi Toilet is not going unseen. These problems are not going unseen. Parents, teachers, they all seem to know that something is not right, that something is going wrong. The children can't read. They can barely socialize. They don't know what state they live in. I would imagine some of them might not even know their own name. As I said, the ego has been totally destroyed by the endless stream of content. Parents are even recognizing the Skibidi Toilet. They call it the Skibidi Toilet Syndrome. Well, more in memes, perhaps older siblings, but it's recognized as a problem. That a fixation on media like this might be a problem. A fixation on shit in mass, in a mimetic way, a viral fixation on filth might not be the best thing. We've always generationally had struggles. I'm sure that the greatest generation looking at the boomers liking rock and roll were thinking, oh, they love this evil, evil stuff. It's very dangerous. But it really doesn't get more on the nose than toilets. That it's not about the devil. It's not about leather. It's not about very silly cartoons. It's about toilets and feces. It's about shit. It's not good. In fact, it's one of the roots of the word evil. The word for evil in Greek is extremely similar to the word for shit. Kaka means evil, means shit. There's no getting around it. There's no getting around that we are at a very dangerous point where our youth, the children of the future, because children are the future. Currently, the future is obsessed with heads and toilets. Orwell famously says, if you want to imagine the future, imagine a boot stepping on a human face forever. I say, imagine a human face entertained by a toilet forever. As always, remember, memes matter.